All right, today we're gonna dive in and try to figure out what we broke on the rear diff while wheeling on Holy Cross. I've already got the Jeep jacked up on stands on the frame so the rear diff will droop. I'm gonna have to drop the sway bar from the diff first so that I can access the diff cover and see if we cracked it. I'm not sure. It loosens up the passenger side diff cover bolts when you're articulating and flexing, but it will not loosen them when you're driving it on the street. So I don't know. I'm thinking it's probably cracked. I'm hoping not, but we'll dig into it, see if we can see a crack and go from there. All right, like I said, I got this thing already jacked up. We'll buzz the sway bar loose, which in our case, it's a 16 millimeter. I'm gonna grab a bungee cord so I can pull that to the trailer hitch right next to him the whole time. All right, we'll lower this down. I also have the front wheels chocked because the frame is at an angle. The back's the only one jacked up. On this Metal Cloak diff cover, it's an H6, so it's a metric 6 millimeter Allen or hex. All right, grab something to pop it loose.
I have to watch it.
See how this comes out?
What?
Well, good news, there's fluid.
Yeah.
Bad news, that's not the color I really want to see.
Yeah.
Especially being it got changed just before we went.
Yeah.
That's a lot of wear. But we were loaded down real heavy in the bed of this truck, so. And it was nasty when we changed it the first time too.
Yeah.
When we did this cover swap, it was
Disgusting.
some very burnt fluid. Actually worse than this. But it had, I think, 30,000 miles. All right.
So now my question is, what was all the cleaning in the bed the last time I rode in it?
I don't know.
We're on the way to teach the Taco Bell somewhere. In the back to this tree. Why you still got all thousands of teeth?
You know, I don't think it's the years or anything. We'll have to see. We'll have to clean this up real good. And
You know, now I'm wondering,
I gotta clean the diff cover too and see.
could it just be the seal? Because the seal's pretty chewed up on the side.
Yeah. I also noticed too, before I took this apart,
What?
I drooped the suspension down and the sway bar would actually contact the cover because there's no spacers on this.
Yeah.
I sold the, I had the diff skid, the diff diaper as we always call them.
Yeah.
But I sold it to a buddy who has a stock Gladiator for this trip. It was brand new, didn't want to wreck it up, you know, beat it up or anything. And it wouldn't work with the rock crawler 4-link because it goes in the same exact spot. I didn't have time to modify it. I bet you if I would have modified it, I wouldn't be doing this right now. So, but I'm gonna clean the cover up real good. Clean the housing up. I'm really concerned about that. Hopefully I'll be able to see in there. I don't see any cracks, just quick look. I don't see anything, but I'll have to get a light on it and really look close. Right, now that we got this all drained, I don't see any visual cracks anywhere right off. I'm gonna add some light. Yeah, I don't see any cracks. Now I'm gonna spin the tire and check the spider gears. Just see if I got any damage. I don't see any. Well, the diff looks fine. So I'm a little confused why it only leaks under flex, unless the sway bar is contacting it and pushing it, but I don't have any signs on the diff cover of it contacting. I don't think I was ever flexed out enough, because that was at the whole axle was grouped when it hits. But you can definitely see where we got into this diff cover real hard. On Holy Cross, we beat the crap out of it on that one obstacle. When I ended up just dropping right in, and man, it got us. I don't know why the bolts were backing out only on half of it, but I guess I'm going to clean it up real good. I'm going to wipe out in there some more. It's because there's probably been some junk that got in there because it wasn't sealed. Yeah, do that, clean the cover up, seal it up. I'm gonna look into running a heavier weight oil in the rear, being it's always loaded down. But I wanna make sure I'm not gonna go too heavy or create problems. So I'm gonna do a little bit of research, and I'll report back what I'm gonna do for fluid. So I think this calls for $75.90, but I'll double check and we'll go from there. All right. I'm gonna try to cover up as much as I can. I'll use some of this for a part that just showed up, so we're gonna put on the Gladiator as well to fix a problem that I feel like is probably really common. It happened before we even owned this. So we'll see if we can't do that, see if it's going to help or not. You know, they say a dull knife's the most dangerous. I'd have to agree at this point. I see junk in there from what I'm going to guess is just from not having this sealed up real good. I don't know if I want to shoot brake cleaner all in there or not. It evaporates, and the fill on the differential will be about halfway, so I might shoot the edges, because I see most junk is up on top of the bearing caps, but I know I can't get in there. Yeah, we'll just do a little bit. If I need a diff, I guess I know why. Gosh, you can see how much fluid's burnt in there though. Man. Hope I don't regret this. But there is so much burnt fluid on this. Look at this. What, buddy?
So, number of the train cars, if you include the two engines, will be 16 cars long.
Woo!
Yeah, that stuff's strong.
Woo! Okay then. We're gonna find out if this is a good idea or a bad idea. I've never sprayed the whole inside of a differential with the gears in it with brake cleaner.
Oh dear.
So we're gonna see if it screws it up or fixes it. Whoa, what is going on there? Well, hey. By doing that, see next to the pin right there? That's the pin that holds the spider gears. That don't look good. I don't know why it's chipped right there. At least if it goes out now, I can't blame the brake cleaner. What?
I need a tap.
Yeah, see right
Hammer?
right in front of the screwdriver here, this big chip, and then this crack here. I think I'm gonna go put it in neutral so that I can spin the carrier around. See what I see. I really don't want to spend big money right now, but I don't want to get stranded either. Okay, I'm gonna find some more carrier to spin her around. See if I see anything else. That has me nervous though, because this has never been re-geared. I can't imagine it would get sent out and the manufacturer looking like that. I don't know. We're gonna run it and find out, I guess. The pin still seems really tight. Doesn't spin, which it shouldn't, because at least in the old ones there was a bolt that went in. Oh, or no, the bolt goes in. I think the wife's JK front was like this too, and the bolt actually comes in from back here or something like that. Remember, we had to take the carrier out to do the spider gears to put a lunchbox locker in. I don't know. All right, well, I'm gonna wipe this down and see where we end up. See what kind of hoodlum just pulled up in my driveway. Bumping his music. Okay, quick little update. I had a buddy stop by, so I didn't record while putting the diff cover on. But I got it all cleaned up real good. I made sure the surfaces were real nice on both the diff and the cover. Got all the junk out of there I could. I feel like it'll be fine. Went and bought the right stuff. I've used it multiple times with great success. I'm questioning the gray though. I was thinking about it. I've done 3 different differentials with the gray, and all 3 have leaked. I don't know if it's a coincidence. I don't know. But I've used this on everything. Small block Chevy intake manifolds instead of the little rubber gaskets on the front and rear. Timing covers. This is my go-to 100%. And honestly, up to this point, I've never had them leak. So that's what I used on this. I'm sure it's gonna seal up real good. I already pumped the fluid in. We did up the fluid viscosity to 75/140, and it does have the additive, even though this is not a Rubicon, but it has that smart diff, whatever they call it, where it does better than a regular open. So got that on there. Got a decent bead poking out. Might have used a smidge too much, but it squeezed to the outside, not the inside, so I'll take it. That doesn't bug me, especially on my own rig. While I was doing that, I remembered I actually just did a bunch of cleaning and getting rid of a whole truckload of stuff that I've had sitting around. And I got rid of a couple sway bars. I kept one inside here though, because it had brackets on it, like spacers for a JK. I don't remember exactly what it was, what the idea behind it was. I think it came with the metal cloak kit, a 5.5-inch kit for the wife's JK. I could be wrong. Either way, they're not being used now because she has an anti-rock on the rear as well. So I figured might as well see if they'll work. Here they are right here. They actually bolted right on. It's a nice spacer. It's metal. And it has threaded bosses for these bolts. The other Allen bolt's right behind this. It's recessed in just like this one. It bolted right on. I didn't drill a single thing. It was the exact same 3-inch spacing. Even the thread pitch on these Allen bolts for the JK that came with this bracket was right. I did have to use, I couldn't use the stock JT bolts here because it's a different thread pitch, but this bracket came with those, so I used them. Spaced it out. This is still a little sketchy, but I have clearance. This is absolutely full droop. I will never get more than this. I've got space. Now before I wasn't even at full droop and I was hitting pretty good. So they did what I needed. As you can tell, I need longer sway bar end lengths. That is a horrible setup right there. You do not want it that straight. But that's in the works. I'll end up probably getting some that are adjustable instead of these fixed ends. When I'm doing that, I actually have plates to repair these problems. You see that crack right there? And it's a welded nut. That's all loose. That's all sloppy. I mean, everything on this is, well, I can't turn that bolt right now, but the other side, it's tore up too bad where you can actually turn the bolt and move it. That'll be a video I'm gonna do once we, and it won't tighten anymore. You can see how it's cockeyed and pulled away. So that'll be coming up. Got some real nice plates for that. Of course, we had to go gold. Real nice thick brackets. Obviously took some little engineering in it. Bolt on. So actually looked really simple. I really thought about doing it now, but I just want to do the end links one time. But yeah, there's 2 bolts on the frame. You unbolt. There's a little bracket. You kind of swing it out of the way. Put this behind it. They send you longer bolts, I believe. I'll have to double check. But it's metal cloak. I'm sure they do. So then you bolt that bracket back on. On mine, it's just holding a wire clip on each side behind the inner fender. So pretty minimal. I know the spacing out this far is not going to do any adverse effects. This goes down in front of your factory sway bar bracket, which is what was cracked on mine on both sides, horribly bad. And then you can use that as a reinforcement, or in my case, probably going to end up cutting part of it off and just using just this, which they say on the instructions you can. Obviously that is way thicker than what they did stock, and I mean honestly Hell, that might be quarter inch. I wouldn't be concerned about it holding a sway bar. I mean, they do get some pressures and side loads, but man, that ought to hold. So, and they just go up. Now, these aftermarket fender flares kind of suck because this is blocked right now. But if I come up at an angle, you can see one bolt. And there's a bolt right here. The bracket goes straight up and angles back a little bit. So pretty simple. Both sides are like that. Bolt it on, put that on front of it. And it comes down and sits in front of this, right behind the end link itself. And you put it on again. Another day, another project. But I feel like the rear diff might be taken care of now. So we'll see. We'll put a couple miles on it. Now I gotta decide with that carrier being cracked. Do I go ox lockers and build these diffs up, which was my original plan, really, because they're both Dana 44s. So I could build these up. I might truss front and rear. I have to look into trusses though, make sure they don't go too tall, because I don't want to go above the rock crawler unless I use that as a reference, do measurements and put my own mounts up top, because I really like this triangulated 4-link. You know, this is beautiful. Bolt on triangulated 4-link, like, my goodness, that's beautiful. So worst case, I can always weld brackets on top of the truss as long as it's flat that far over. Most of them won't stay flat that far, so I might have to get creative. Or I might just call that the truss and just tie it over to the coil spring buckets. I mean, just come over, I'll end up welding this to it and come over and tie into the coil spring buckets on each side. Which would, I mean, it essentially be a truss. I don't think I really need to truss the rear, but why not? I don't know if I'd do an axle upgrade or not. The front, I would probably want to truss, just because I don't know if I'll replace the spindles because they're aluminum. I forget, I think I heard somebody tell me that the Mojave has steel spindles or knuckles, whatever you want to call them, outers. So, I don't know. I might have to look into something like that. But if I do the rear, I'm re-gearing it. So, I don't know what I'll go to. My initial thoughts are go all in to 538, but once again, the wife pointed out, the gears are going to be real skinny on these little diffs. So I don't know if I can technically get away with that and still have a life expectancy. I don't want to put something in just to grenade it when I get one bounce on an obstacle. So I don't know if it'll end up being a 513. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that and weigh my options. I might get rid of the front axle disconnect, the FAD. I know they make a one-piece axle shaft. I don't really think that's my main concern though. That's what all that box is right there with the wire sticking out of it. So basically it's a modern day version of the old school, you know, or even the new lockouts and stuff. It just allows it to disconnect. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. We got to weigh our options. I mean, otherwise I'm thinking a Fusion 60 front, probably for sure. And I don't know if I would do a 60 or an 80 rear. I don't know how much bigger the 80 housing is, like how much less ground clearance I'll have. That would be another thing I'd be concerned about. At the end of the day, chances are this poor thing is always going to have a bed full of stuff. We always pack a lot of tools just in case. I mean, the one time I didn't have a lot of tools, we had a buddy who we had to help do a brake line, so, and I didn't have my tubing cutters or anything. So it'll probably always be loaded down. So I don't know, we'll see. We'll see if this heavier fluid helps too from burning it up. So, okay, well, pretty simple. Lucked out, no cracks in the housing, but also definitely got a crack in the carrier. No idea how or why, but it's there. So I know we're just got a ticking time bomb back here, so we'll see what happens. All right, see you.